So, 4 days ago I published a video comparing Trigger's newest anime, BNA, to some of their prior ones, primarily Kill la Kill. Naturally, I rewatched a decent bit of Kill la Kill for this, and something weird I realized is for how utterly ridiculous of a series it is, I never found myself questioning why things got so over the top, the validity of Ryuko's quest, or the insane power showcased by the Devas and sisters. And the origin for all of these can be traced right back to the first 4.5 minutes of the anime. It's honestly sadly rare for an anime to have a super solid introduction, let alone an amazing one, so I love seeing those that do it right. Like Hellsing's entire first episode, Vinland Saga's flashback intro, or yes, the best introduction in anime, Kill la Kill. In those vital first few minutes, they solve some key issues in terms of character and plot, making the absolute insanity that follows work in that special Trigger way. I can't tell you how turned off I get from an anime when you look at the main villain and all you can think to yourself is, yep, that's a villain. I can't think of any great anime that don't have a strong villain, and that's part of what puts Kill la Kill so far above many other anime, even when the initial villains aren't the ones we actually end up with. I mean, before we even see Ryuko, we get a glimpse of every major pre-villain, but mostly Gamagori and Satsuki. And what do we see from them? Well, Gamagori breaks down a classroom's reinforced metal door and literally squeezes himself through the opening to berate the students. They play around a lot with his size, but here it's used very well to back up Mikisugi shrinking away at the simple phrase, council business. When the messenger you get for a single student in class fucking up is a man 10 times your size destroying the room from his mere presence, it's safe to assume the council might be bad news. But at least the penalty wasn't too bad. Oh, wait. They killed him and hung his body on the wall as a reminder, after Gamagori toyed with him as if he had a chance before throwing him around the school grounds, destroying walls, and stripping him. And it's seen when he begins to talk again that the entire school is watching this as well. So we can assume that this is an example. Fear tactics at their finest, saying, don't go against us, even in the slightest, or this happens to you. Could you imagine if you were at school and you messed something up, maybe stole something little, whatever it was, and the student counselor got to walk into the room and say, yep, we should kill this kid as an example. You'd probably wish for someone to come along and overthrow Satsuki, and that gives us a real reason to root for Ryuko rather than just because she's the protagonist. It's an important note that they established early on that some anime fail to do over their entire course. The final moments of the scene also gives us a scale for Ryuko's undertaking. The shot zooms out from Hinoji Academy down past the wealthy homes, through the slums, and to the literal furthest point away before the ocean, and we see her there. She's not just beating up a few people and calling it a day. This is pure visual representation of the task before her, setting the stage that it's gonna be one hell of a climb. This is something specifically I called out in my Tower of God first impression, because it just doesn't have that visual pairing to show what an undertaking this is. I mean, a visual pairing is a great tool to get across less tangible elements like the sense of challenge. Here, it's right there in your face before you've even seen the star of the show. We can also talk about some more subtle elements, which is the weirdest thing I've ever said considering we're talking about Kill la Kill. But we can look at the only time Gamagori isn't yelling, screaming, fighting, or something similar to that, which is when he takes back the Ultima uniform, and actually takes good care to make sure it's in good shape. Having it come back folded is just a funny and easier to animate detail, but he brushes the dust off and, lightly at least for him, hands it to a student waiting to take it with the utmost care. Then he proceeds to just yell like usual. But this tells us right away something prevalent. The students here are nothing without these uniforms, and in fact the clothing is more important than they are. We see how much of a difference they make on Suzuki. He goes from a meekly grunting coward to a boisterous and confident man in a few seconds. This makes it an easier pill to swallow when Mako exposits it later to Ryuko. But where some series may simply say these things, we see them first before having it confirmed, and with just a few seconds and some careful detail. There's also not over the top, but more overt choices like opening with the class learning about the Nazi rise to power and then showing an oppressive regime forcing its way into the room, but Hopefully the educational system has covered that point for me. Hey, quick plug. So I make tons of other discussion videos, in addition to reviews, impressions, and comedy videos, all focused on the anime you love. Consider subscribing for more in the future, or checking out a few other videos on anything from utter classics to modern hits. Also, I have a Discord server linked in the description for the channel if you want to talk anime with other fans or reach me directly. Anyway, back to the video. Next, I want to address something you can actually see carried over from the Trigger founders Imeshi and Otsuka's time at Gainax. Imeshi was the director of one of the few series to one-up Kill la Kill in the what the hell just happened factor, Gurren Lagann. Something they both do, a critical element that if missed can destroy a series' entire mood, is to establish right away that the series is going to be out of the box insane when it comes to physics, concepts, you name it. This is something that rears its head a bit more in longer series, kind of like Dragon Ball. It started much more down to earth, martial arts focused, and now Goku is fighting for his universe against all the others, so that this kid god thing doesn't destroy them all or something like that. It can turn viewers off to see such a change, although I will say for Dragon Ball's credit, it became so long that the change is much less noticeable and they had to go somewhere. It's just the most famous example. Kill la Kill actually improved on Gurren Lagann here though, having this establishing action take place chronologically and immediately connected, rather than an opening cut to an unrelated future scene. You can also look at this less in relation to combat or concept, but character as well. They're all going to do some crazy shit over the course of 24 episodes, like sewing their eyes shut or putting Christian Grey to shame with the biggest BDSM affliction ever, but it's not like he didn't jump down multiple stories, destroy his own school grounds, and almost kill an entire class within 4 minutes. It's almost like a form of conditioning where, despite things being extremely over the top later, in respect to their origins, they don't make your eyes bulge out of your skull like the bold red text that screams at you to accentuate its point. Almost, but not quite. Related to this is the establishment of, for lack of a better term, power levels
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
Early on. I can count any number of action-related series from Fairy Tail to Demon Slayer, where once you get later in the series, you look back at the early villains and think, damn, those guys were nothing. This isn't to say scaling up is bad, but sometimes it can be done too quickly, or in a way that feels less like growth and more like narrative power creep to keep things interesting. This is a thing in Kill la Kill as well, but offset due to their early powerful introduction and the premise of Ultima uniforms, which are also determined in the opening scene. We see, in order, that the Devas are super strong, Ultima uniforms enable this, and then the massive gap between a 1-star and a 3-star, with Gamagori portrayed as a literal wall with a static image when Suzuki's punch hits. It's also a way to save on animation being used to enhance a moment, yes. But anyway, back on track. So when there's a jump in power later, it's less obviously let's ramp things up for viewership, and more Honnouji Academy has these established levels, and they still achieve the real goal of keeping interest. Really, it's just a smart choice bolstered up by the decision to place it into the world from the very beginning. And then at the top of this, level 100 rank, S++, top player in the world, Satsuki. And we see this hulking man who just broke down a reinforced door and took a multiple story fall and decimated a student like it was nothing, bow down to someone who's seemingly literally miles above them. It's safe to say it gives some backing that Satsuki is in fact the big baddie. She's sitting in her castle with so much excessive free space, it seems to taunt you. Go ahead, run. You're not gonna make it to the walls anyway. This is so much better, more efficient, and more visual than many other times where an anime simply tells you how strong someone is, but you never see it. I mean, there is a reason to not have an extremely powerful character fight. It builds suspense for when they finally do, and what it'll be like. It can be a great source of tension. But this only works when their power is believable without you seeing it. It's a tough line to get to, but building it off the back of others who do fight is a good way. If Gamagori is bowing to her, she must be some godly levels of tough. And it doesn't disappoint. To cap it off, she gives a speech about contradiction being truth, a subtle hint that things aren't what they seem since she isn't actually the antagonist. God, I seriously can't say enough about this intro. And in case I didn't say it enough, this is all within 4 minutes and 30 seconds. things that some anime take an entire episode to establish, done with that minuscule amount of time. Now granted, the rest of the episode does go on to explain these things more in depth, but what's important is we're shown before we're told, something that's just often missing from anime. Now, for all the elements of trigger I could point out and say this is weak or this isn't as smart, this is just the smartest opening in anime. How much it establishes, how much it does with its time, and how efficiently. It's hard to put into words just how much I adore this opening. It gets across the entire feel of the series, elements of the story and characters, all in that short amount of time in a way that's not easy to pull off. Now I will say that as such a ridiculous series, it's probably a bit easier for this than some other more grounded series paradoxically, but I'd still regard it higher than pretty much any other anime opening. Actually, definitively than any other anime opening. But along those lines, if you know of any other similarly great anime openings, let me know down below, because I do love when series start really strong, and I could appreciate even just that moment if I end up not liking the anime. So let me know if you know of any similar strong openings down below. Also, for my outro, I think it's time I stop this weird running gag of the nudist-speech thing where my shirt slowly falls off, because I'd like to not have this video be taken down. But anyway, if you like this video, let me know down below with a like so I'll make more like it. If you think I missed anything or you want to add to the discussion, you can go ahead and leave me a comment saying what I missed or what you want to add or what you thought of the video. There'll also be that link to my Discord that I mentioned earlier, where you can reach me directly to talk anime, talk to some other fans, or just generally hang out. Also, I'll have more videos up on screen now if you want some more of that anime goodness. And I guess there's really not much to say other than thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Hopefully next time I won't be stripping for a joke.